You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 443, another edition of our listener Q&A. We've got a whole slew of questions, once again brought to you guys, our faithful listeners, our Patreon members, and those that are not Patreon members, and quite a variety of different topics. I'm very surprised. A lot of Thrawn stuff, which is something we probably don't talk about enough here, the Chiss and the Thrawn, so I'm looking forward to that. And then we've got a whole list of what do we call them? These I call them Force lightning round questions, but lightning round type stuff. So we'll get to those two in just a little bit. But speaking of, look at you smiling! You're so happy today. How you doing, Jonesy? So welcome to the show. I'm glad you could be here tonight.
Oh, thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to be able to spend some time with you.
Yes, of course. What do you think about the questions?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good. They're always really good. And we've always it's a good mix, right? Sometimes it's a fun question, silly questions, which are some of those couple inside joke questions. And then some other ones that actually have to go and spend a little time to research and think about. And so those are always a lot of fun too. So I like that we get a mixed match. And then it's kind of cool. We have a bit of this whole speed round idea at the very end here. So,
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for everyone for all of the questions. I mean, if you add all the individual questions up, we've got 2 or 3 dozen, but we're gonna slimline some of that stuff here.
Yeah, we got to condense this down. Otherwise, we'll be here all night. And well,
we usually are, but yeah.
Well, that's very true. Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know that we have any news. It's been a busy. We're doing this on a Sunday night, and we used to record on Sunday night pretty regularly. It occurred to me why Sunday nights or these weekend shows are always tough because there's so much going on. But that said, I don't remember. I have really not had any chance to be on social media, so I don't know if anything broke over the weekend. Usually, we get no news on the weekend, so
right. No, and I've been super busy this weekend too, so I haven't been able to pay attention. But we did have news on the Patreon front. We had a nice level. Yeah, we had a level up from Matthew Cato. He bumped himself up to the After Dark tier. So special thank you to Matthew there for his faith and confidence in voting with his dollar.
He's been a very, very long time supporter, by the way.
Yeah, so it was cool to be able to see that this morning. So special thanks to him. And of course, a huge thank you to all of our now part of the tribe members, Mike, Kathy, Rob, Lauren, Dante, Risk, and Justin. And then, of course, Delusions of Grandeur, the Rod tier. Thank you so much, Rod, and we really appreciate it. If you are interested in checking out Patreon, and some of the perks of Patreon are when we do these Q&A shows, you're guaranteed to have your question read on air and answered, and hopefully in a very thought-provoking kind of way, or at least honestly. You can check all that stuff out over at cantinacast.com/Patreon. We'd love to hear you. You can always reach out to us in any of the ways, social media, emails, hello there at cantinacast.com if you ever have anything, and we will stash them away. But yeah, cantinacast.com/Patreon. And if you are listening to this on the podcast, we'd love for you to come out and join us on the live stream and join the live chat as well. cantinacast.com/YouTube.
Very cool. And I know that people are really stressing about this, but I'm actually not drinking warm coffee tonight. I've actually got a cold coffee. This is a rarity for me.
Wait, is it a cold pumpkin spice latte?
It's not pumpkin spice. It's actually from Summer Moon Coffee, which I highly recommend if anybody has this in their area. Amazing stuff. Better than Starbucks, in my opinion. But
wait, and so which one are you having then?
This is a mocha. It's an iced mocha.
Okay.
So, so good. Yeah, chef's kiss. All right. Well, without further ado.
Yeah, we got a full show, so let's get to it, huh?
Okay. Why don't you take the first one and
read you the first one, you mean? Or you want me to answer it?
You read me the first one, then I answer. You know how it goes.
Okay. All right, yeah, we're gonna get kicked off right with the with a tough one at the start. And of course it's from Dante Utini over on Discord. Thank you for your Patreon support and also for joining us on the last Patreon member episode as well. He says, quote unquote, perfect casting is often just the viewer connecting to how an actor portrays a character, and maybe we would feel the same about a different actor had they filled that role. But sometimes it really is just perfect. In that vein, what line of dialogue could only be delivered by that singular actor? The one that comes to mind for him is Werner Herzog's line, "Can I offer you a libation to celebrate the closing of our shared narrative?" That is a pretty fantastic line, by the way.
Yeah, very props to the writing group there.
So for you, is there a line of dialogue that is only a specific character could have delivered that piece of line of dialogue for you?
So this one's it's a very interesting question that made me actually think, I had to think about a lot of the characters and
I'm
all
terrible at this type of thing. So
yeah,
Lauren's
this is Lauren. She's already put her favorite line in there. I would like to see the baby, which is another amazing line delivered by him.
Mm-hmm.
But Werner Herzog, he's such an interesting character. Like there are some people out there. I'll get to the question. I'll get to the answer in just a second, but I do want to preface this by saying there's certain actors and actresses out there who are just like infamous. Their voices are so unique, and and sometimes you have writers that write specifically for it, and sometimes you have writers that write lines of dialogue and they don't anticipate they can't anticipate how they're going to be delivered by these particular actors because they're so unique in that sense. I hate to use that word, but that really is the case. And so some of the other folks that came to mind were like Jack Nicholson.
Mm-hmm.
He can take a simple line and kind of change it into anything. Matthew McConaughey is kind of known for this as well. You can kind of give him anything and he can kind of put a spin on it. And he's got a very, very cool sounding, laid back voice. I'd throw like Sam Elliott in there as well. The dude abides, that it's just, so it's very difficult because we don't have, we have some characters like that and we have some actors, even voice actors that have contributed to Star Wars. So I would say anything by James Earl Jones as Vader has to be up there, and that's an easy out. I get it. I'm not saying that was my answer.
Is there a particular line by James Earl Jones that you feel like was more special than some of the others? Like just delivery wise? I do have one that pops out to me.
Go ahead, and I'll kind of ponder that here.
No disintegrations.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about that line, but it's just absolutely perfect.
Yeah, that one's good. I don't know. The lines that stick out to me for Vader, they're always weird. Like they're not lines you would think. It's not like, "No, I'm your father." It's like, you were unwise to have lowered your defenses.
Yeah, one that always sticks out for me is also Obi-Wan once thought as you did. I don't know why that one always. Maybe because it's such a pivotal transitional moment in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, yeah. But there's so many of them that are just iconic, and a lot of it is the delivery of the lines themselves from somebody like James Earl Jones. I would throw Ian McDiarmid on there as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like you think about
Do It.
Do It. That was the whole reason during Celebration when they brought him, back out to say "Roll It Again."
Mm-hmm.
A very innocuous, line, an ask of him to just say, "Come out and say roll it again," and yet somehow he turns that into a very cynical sounding thing because that's just what he does, as Palpatine.
Right.
I actually had Kylo Ren on here originally. I was going to say him. There's something about Adam Driver's delivery, even in The Mask, inside the mask and outside the mask, but he has, as one of these very powerful actors, a way of delivering lines that are very untraditional. Like the way the writer probably wrote them is not how he delivers them, but he does something that was very unexpected, and it's just impactful and powerful. And that's beyond Star Wars. You go watch any of his movies that he does, and he has that same kind of effect. But so the one, and again, here we go. This is probably, it's going to feel like a cop out, but Eric Bursfeld, who is the one, or Bowersfeld. Eric Bowersfeld is the guy that does Admiral Akbar's voice in Return of the Jedi. And so I went with It's a Trap because I don't know that anybody else could have delivered that line. And it becomes, it's so iconic now and it's a meme and that sort of thing. He's my answer. But there are some things too that even like, Pablo Pascal as Din Djarin and some of the way he's able to do and say some of his line deliveries behind that mask without any facial expressions, and yet they stick with us, right? I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
That was a good line.
this is kind of one that sticks out. And who else can deliver that line as cool and collective as he does there? And then, sorry, my last one is the one that Rob just threw up, which is "Hello, what do we have here?" So anything by
I had basically anything Billy D. I had everything, anything James Earl Jones.
yes. Yeah. I mean, he's just so suave and perfect for that role that every one of his lines comes across as either a smooth talker, an ex-con man, a gambler, or all of the above. But Lando's definitely up there as well for Billy D.
Right. Yeah, I had Billy D and James Earl Jones as just kind of everything. I think Jim Cummings is another one who is just, so he's the voice of Hondo. And I know I'm a Hondo homer, but it's like everything he says is just comical and amazing. But one of my favorite lines, though, was when he's talking to Ezra and he's reflecting on his relationship with Obi-Wan Kenobi. One of my best friends was a Jedi. I'm pretty sure we were friends.
Right.
It's just great.
Yeah, I
now,
remember that one.
could anybody else have delivered that line? Maybe. But Jim Cummings as Hondo is just amazing all the time. Now, as I thought about what is a line, I think in the spirit of what Dante was trying to say, could anybody else deliver a certain line in any other way? And I think one that also popped out to me was Mace Windu, "This party's over."
That's a great one. Yep.
Because, I mean, could anybody else deliver that line other than Samuel L. Jackson?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so either. I just don't think it's possible.
Yeah, no, I would agree there. That's a pretty good one. I hadn't considered that one, honestly. I even threw in I was gonna throw in, and I didn't get a chance to get around looking for some lines, but when I said audiobooks, what's grown on me a lot lately is the Markion Rowe voice.
Really? That is a little bit surprising.
I know. I've really been against it for a very long time, but there's just something about it now that it's starting to grow on me. But I meant to go back and try to find some of the lines that, oh God, what's his name?
Mark Thompson.
Mark Thompson, thank you. Some of the lines that Mark Thompson, because I want to go back now after this question came up. I thought there's probably some lines in there in which he delivers, because I mean the script or his character itself, right? Markion Rowe says some pretty vile and evil things and very sinister things. And then you get somebody like Mark Thompson behind the creative voice itself, right? Aside from the sound of the voice, but just the way he delivers those lines, there's probably things in there that are very unique that, didn't pop out at me at first glance. But
you mean like how he's telling Senator Staros that it's time to give her reward?
No, not that part.
Oh, okay.
No.
That was on the creepy side. Got it.
That's the After Dark show.
I thought we were on the same page there.
Nope.
Okay,
We're good. But it's okay. All right. Next question.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Dante. Great question, man. As always.
Okay.
And
next one.
And yes, you can offer me a libation to celebrate the closing of our shared narrative.
A libation. Nobody uses that word.
Werner Herzog did.
Yeah. Except the client. Right. That was his name, right? He never got a name, correct?
I think so. I think that's right. Yeah.
I think it was just the client.
Believe so.
Okay, let's next question. Here's a fun little one. Thanks to our buddy over Imperial Moonwalker. Excluding porgs, what creature from a galaxy far, far away would you expect to taste best on the grill? Spoken like a true grillin' Texan.
Yeah, I know, right?
Thanks,
apparently human, because the Ewoks want to grill some Han Solo and some Chewbacca. So I guess some Wookiees too. But
Chewie.
I don't know. I mean, I guess the only one we see really on the spit is Kawaki monkey lizards. So there must be something tasty about them.
Something, yeah.
Yeah. So this is one that I really didn't want to think too hard about, because quite honestly, I don't trust myself, because this would go down a rabbit hole. So I have to figure out what a Kawaki monkey lizard tastes like.
Okay.
Porgs seem reasonable. It's like eating quail or something.
Like a bird, yeah.
Yeah.
I started thinking convor, and I thought, what am I doing? That's like sacrilegious. Who would ever want to eat a convor?
I think they're endangered.
Exactly. It's like you might as well just eat a panda. It's the same thing, right? No one thinks about it because.
Yeah, and everybody looks at you the same way. Like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly. You don't eat convors. Same thing with like what do you call them? I was going to say loath wolves, but that's not the word. But yeah, any of the sacred animals that the Jedi covet are kind of off limits. What this book, or what this question did for me, was it did allow me to bring out this book, because I poke around it every once in a while just to kind of look at it. But I was like, oh, cool, look at the Alien Archive book. And it's got a ton of aliens in here, just every species, and it tells you like whether they're herbivores and carnivores and et cetera, et cetera. So there was actually some good stuff in there. So
really, Rathars are misunderstood. They're really vegetarians.
Exactly, they really
They
are.
just get very angry.
Yeah, and they go good with sushi, with sushi rolls. But I got so as I was going through the book, I really kind of settled on two from the book, and I guess two that make sense, and that's of course banthas. There's probably something of value in eating, putting some bantha meat and grilling that, right?
Yeah.
I thought about the other, what wasn't in here that I thought about too, was the crate dragons. Because when they cook those things up, wasn't that they brought that piece to Pelimato and they put it on the burner there, the afterburner, and
Yeah, they did.
grilled that sucker up?
That's right.
There's got to be something again
Pretty good.
worth eating.
And here's why I didn't want to answer this question, because there's also parts of me that are like wondering, like, wonder, do Gamorreans really taste like bacon?
That's a good one. I should have picked that one.
I'm on a roll, man.
You are on a roll. The one I settled on was Nerfs.
What else be on a good on a roll? Probably
What?
Purgill for sushi.
Oh yeah, Purgo. They were in the book. I thought about them, and I thought, nope, again, sacrilegious, can't do that. Although, speaking of Purgo, one of the big supporters of Purgo, people that really love Purgos, joined us at least briefly. Stopped in, Mike Rondo.
Yeah, just enough to leave a puking emoji.
Yeah, I think that was when. What were we talking about at the time? Oh, I think it was the coffee. I think it was Summer Moon. I think it was coffee, buddy. And anyways,
I'm sure that's what. I'm sure it wasn't Adam Driver or something like that.
Yeah, no, it was prior to that for sure. But no, so Nerfs were the other one, because that is like the cow of you hear about Nerf milk, and I don't know. There's all kinds of Nerf patties that's come up before in Star Wars, but those are the cow of bovines of Star Wars, and so yeah, I'd love a Nerf burger. That sounds delicious, actually.
Could go for that. I wonder if it's lean or a little bit on the fatty side.
I'm gonna go more on the. I think it's more like bison, where it's a little bit more lean but gamey, a little bit of a gamey taste to it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate the question. All right. Next one, Lauren, OB2 in Discord, of course. Other than Maz, Albert, and although I know it really is Maz, who is your biggest Star Wars crush? This is almost like a silly question to ask you, but so we're going to say, who is your biggest crush that's not Maz? And then who is second after Avar Chris?
Okay. So first off, Maz is not a crush. She is someone who I'd like to crush.
More like an obsession, I know.
Yeah. That she is not a crush. So I feel singled out in this question, Lauren. So sorry and thank you. But okay, so the first crush would be, it's Avar Chris. How did you know it was Avar Chris?
I don't know. Yeah, it's shocking.
Yeah.
Definitely couldn't be all of the artwork you have of her.
Yeah. She's pretty dreamy. So that's mine.
Especially
and then
when she's got
that,
like a big vein in her head when she's going evil, trying to kill people.
That's fine. I can help her.
That's right. She's savable.
Yep. She's savable. I can, help her come back to the light if we need to. So Avar Chris is probably my crush. And then prior to Avar Chris, though, it'd always been Leia. Growing up with Leia, and then Return of the Jedi came out when I was 10, and starting to become a hot-blooded young male.
Right. Yeah.
So
some things you just can't.
George Lucas, although now it does feel kind of creepy, but whatever.
Well, what's funny about Leia is my favorite outfit of her was actually always her Hoth white outfit. I don't know why.
I think it was the boots that did it for me.
Yeah, true. I do like a good set of boots.
The the Cloud City outfit is pretty cool too. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah. If Mike was in the chat, I would say it was Mara Jade. Just to, keep the stick poking in Mike Rondo's side.
Yeah.
Yeah. So mine is probably Asajj Ventress, actually.
No.
Yeah.
I would not have guessed that.
There's something about her that just.
I know. You like a bad girl.
She's.
No offense, Steph.
I mean, she kind of turns into a good girl.
True.
But yeah, she's very bad.
Takes a very long time to get there. But yeah, you're right. She does get there.
Yeah. So it's got to be Asajj Ventress for me.
Yeah.
I don't even know if there's a second, like a really close second place either.
Really? Not even like a Leia?
Yeah, no, yeah.
Huh. Jyn Erso is probably in there for me too.
Really? Yeah. Jen's just too much emo for me, too much baggage. Not like a Saj. Saj has no baggage
Right. Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. None at all whatsoever.
Oh, and yeah, so Lauren's saying, that I'm saying I can change her. No, I don't want to change anything about Asajj Ventress. She's perfect in every way.
Yeah. And their Ash is agreeing too. Jonesy likes baldies.
And apparently I like tattooed faces.
Tattooed faces and baldies. Yep.
Yep. Hey,
That's
she's
a
not,
good one.
well, no, she's not bald. Like towards the end of stuff, she's got like a tuft of hair now.
Yeah, she grew her hair out a little bit. It was it wasn't that weird emo Sith phase that she was in, Sith assassin phase.
Right. It was just, yeah.
We've all
Sith assassin. Yeah, we all go through a Sith assassin phase. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Working for
going through one right now.
Working for a creepy old count. Yeah, that's normal, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Lauren. That was a fun one.
You got the next question?
Yeah, sure. I'll ask all the questions, I guess. This is from Jackson Abbott, and actually, this is a historical question a bit. So Jackson wanted to know. It doesn't matter. How did you guys come to start the podcast, and where did you guys meet originally? So do you want to take this one? Kind of recount the history of the Cantina Cast according to Albert and Jonesy.
So the show.
It was a foggy, rainy spring day in Rhode Island.
I don't know if Rondo's still in here, so I'm going to apologize in advance if I screw some of this up. But long story short is the show was originally started as a Star Wars: The Old Republic RPG, MMORPG podcast. And they did a number of episodes that were absolutely horrible. After that, they canned the show. They went into like a hiatus for a few months, almost like a year or something. And then Rhonda decided to kind of bring it back, but more covering news and getting into more topics. And so that went for a very long time. They had a couple guest people. They were doing like writing articles. And then eventually I came in as the janitor, which I'll never forget that's how they introduced me on the show. But it was around the time I got involved in the show because we were doing, they had just turned up Discord.
Right.
So the Discord server had just been fired up. There was like 10 of us on that thing. And at the time, Mike had messaged and said, "Hey, is anybody out there? Would anybody have a few minutes to help us with something?" And I just happened to be on there, and I was like, "Yeah, I can help." And they had messaged and said, "Hey, we need you to log into this particular." They were testing out some services, some podcast recording services, and said, "Do you mind just popping in there so we can hear you? We want to see if we can hear us and how do we sound, et cetera, et cetera." So I got in there and talked to them for just a few minutes, and I was listening to the show obviously at this point, but I was really not involved in the show whatsoever. And through that, I started helping out in Discord, so setting up groups and that kind of thing. And then later on, I mean, it was like, I don't know, it had been months probably after that when finally they said, "Hey, would you ever be interested in coming on the show? We remember when you came and helped do the testing. We thought your voice sounded good, and had you ever thought about it?" And I honestly had never really thought about it, but I certainly like to talk, and I like to talk about Star Wars. So those two things really went well together. And then, so that's kind of how I got involved. Eventually, I started doing shows. As far as how we met, so I guess it would had to have been Discord first, but I think where you and I probably bonded was over the nights of playing Battlefront 2 together.
Yeah. So I had started much in similar fashion as Albert. I joined Discord really early on. I think Josh was over there, Imperial Moonwalker, Joe. I don't know if Dante was there that early or not, but there were a handful of us there in Discord, and I would play Battlefront 2, and Mike and I would stay up later than everybody else, which is odd for you because you always stay up so late. And I would just be extremely inappropriate to Mike all night long. And so with
I remember those nights and those comments.
Yeah, that was a lot.
That's
of fun,
why I never joined. I felt uncomfortable.
I know. Katie loved it. Katie thought it was amazing fun too. She had a huge kick out of it back when she was kind of more involved with us, and it was a lot of fun. Yeah, and over time, when they reached out to you, the show was kind of going through some changes, and then Mike reached out to me later on saying, "Hey, you want to come on and do an After Dark with us? And have you ever thought about podcasting?" Kind of the same approach, and I was like, "No, but I'm looking for a hobby, so sure, we'll try this." And it was a lot of fun. He didn't tell me I sounded good though, which is true. You sound amazing. He was like, "No, anyone at this point, anyone will do. It's fine. Just show up. We will make this work, right?"
Yeah.
But yeah, you and I, yeah, we would play Battlefront too. We bonded a lot over music and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would talk about music, and then Cantina Radio came on, and we would talk about just some of the, and unfortunately there were some deaths in the music world. So we would talk a little bit about that too. And then, but I guess you and I got closer, I guess, after Celebration in 2019 is when we started to talk a lot more, because it was kind of more business relationship, for a bit, as we kind of got accustomed to one another. And then now I'd like to think we're friends.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Robert's like, no, let's not get crazy. All right.
No,
we need to have a meeting after the show. No, yeah. So, I mean, but it's been cool because we've just got such a great core group of folks that have been with the show and been involved with it for, gosh, over 4.5 years at this point is when Discord came online, right? Discord came online like in 2018 for the Cantina Cast. So, or 2017. No, 2017 was before Last Jedi. So it was really cool. 5 years now. Some of these folks, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of all that came together. So we didn't originate the show, but honestly, I think Mike actually reached out, and Albert is like right on that cusp, if he hasn't already eclipsed, of how many shows Albert has been on compared to, how many the original crews were on. And so we've
Which
both
is nuts.
been, I know we've both been on like over 200 shows now or something like that. And it's kind of crazy that we've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, it really did fly by. I was not expecting him to say that. So, but yeah. So I don't know. I mean, here's to another 200. I'm not.
Oh no, Steph called us out. Friends, he threw out your love letter. We are still in a fight.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a tiff right now, though. So
thank you for reminding me, Stephanie. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
This is why you're the better half. But yeah, so thanks for the question, Jackson. It's always fun to kind of recount where we come from, especially for folks who haven't maybe been with us as long. So thanks for the question.
Okay. I got a doozy from you.
Oh, boy.
It's the first of, I think, what's going to be some Chiss and Thrawn discussions.
Excellent.
So, this is from Rod. He says, do you think the Chiss view love in the same way as humans? Their people are focused on duty and honor. Does it stop there? He's got some context where this question came up for. Let me. I'm sorry.
Go through it. Yeah.
The way that they see the 40 great and the 9 ruling families, we'll get into what that means here in a little bit, is different than as we know it, where individuals can earn their way into different families. Does this only exist because they do not experience love or love differently than humans? Is the enforcement of duty and honor their way of loving? And just for exposition, they kind of he asked this question of Timothy Zahn at some point, and he didn't really give him an answer. And it hasn't really been explored. To the best of my knowledge, I've got my own personal theories, but go ahead. What do you got here? What are your thoughts on love and the Chiss?
Yeah, it's really tough because most of what we've got from the Chiss has really been through the military, perspective. We do have a little bit, though, in the most recent Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, though, where it does seem to be very much love, or there can be relationships in that more, I don't know, traditional way. And we have this with the farming family. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But yeah. So I think it's very much, again, we see most of it through this military lens rather than a normal Chiss citizen. And so, but I think there is definitely that conflict due to the desire for power or the desire for honor and respect, I think is definitely there. And I think it likely influences, a lot of the matches made. But like he had said in some of the exposition here, is that, they're able to change families. They're able to pick families. Or maybe that comes into our question later on. But
no, it's this one. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. Because I know we have another Thrawn question too. But yeah. And so I think it's a bit of it's a really interesting one to explore, because I think it's more like, where's the cutoff of that line? And so for someone like Thrawn, who seems to be very strategic thinking, I like to think more of it is a character like Thrawn capable of love or interested in love. Maybe interested's the better word. Clearly, he enjoys having relationships on some level because he finds them challenging. He finds them interesting. He likes to learn. But is there anything that's more of a relationship, like a endearing relationship that's more, emotionally satisfying or, in the traditional sense? And so it's kind of an interesting question. But so, yes, I think the Chiss are definitely capable of love as we would see it. But are we going to get a lot of that in Star Wars? Probably not. But I think we definitely see appreciation at the very least, and relationships all over the place with the Chiss ascendancy.
Yeah, so I think I agree with everything there. The Chiss are very interesting in that I would even argue. So I would argue that the Chiss find knowledge more powerful than love. Right, their whole species is predicated on knowledge and the ability to wield that knowledge and convert that into power of some sort. And without getting into all the history of how many times or why Thrawn's even here, or how many times they've in legends, how many times they've kind of, I would say, infiltrated or put their people out there in these different factions or groups in order to gain knowledge and kind of and be aware of what's going on. Without getting into all of that, I think the Chiss are certainly capable of love in the sense of affection. I what I don't see, and I could be wrong again, because it's like you said, or like Rob said, it really hasn't been explored too much. But what I think they don't do is they don't outwardly express their love like humans would, right? They're not out there gallivanting, confessing their love, professing their love to all these different people and letting everybody know. To me, it feels like the Chiss acknowledge that, okay, love through affection is procreation, right? There's a reason for that. On top of that, do they have actual feelings, emotions, that sort of thing? Yeah, I think so. Are they, are they more introverted about it? That's to me, that's how that species is, right? Almost as a culture, they're very introverted in how they express their love. So it's probably, behind doors in their personal lives, and it's never out for anyone to kind of see. Um, Not to wax too much legends here, but I mean, legend, they're what was it? It's the Celestials, right? The Celestials were supposed to be the ones that created humans, and we were the template for all these other bipedal species, including the Chiss. So if you go from that perspective, then the DNA itself, right, or not to get scientific here, but the DNA itself, they are capable because they are just a different strand of humans down the road as well. So all that to say is yes, I think they're capable of love. Um, I don't know that there's very good examples of where they display it like humans do. And a lot of that is just culture based type, species based for the most part. But first and foremost, it's knowledge that trumps everything else. And that's why, like, not to get into Thrawn, but that's why like Thrawn is so obsessed with, understanding cultures, and he's obsessed with art, right? Because of what you can learn through art, and the more you understand a species, the more you can really, or the more you understand their culture and their art, the more you understand the species. Oh, the other thing I was going to say, sorry, I'm all over the place. But the other thing is, Chiss. I think we got this from, crap. I don't remember if it's Legends or canon, but the Chiss mature faster than humans do as well.
Mm,
So like a 40-year-old human or a 40-year-old Chiss is acting in the mindset of like an 80-year-old. It's like double, I think, like an 80-year-old. So
interesting.
if they do have, that, I don't know, the wild and young type of a phase of their lives, it's happening at a much earlier age than the humans are, or it could end sooner. So by the time they get to the 30s and 40s, which are usually characters like that we would see now, or the characters that we see in Star Wars, they may be all kind of past that, right? That whole, you know, early adolescent love stuff is well beyond them at that point.
Yeah, I think another one besides that reminds me of the Chiss that are just kind of this different set of people in general are the Everini and Marchion Rose people, about whether or not they're capable of love, given what we have learned. Again, very, very small sample.
Yeah.
And again, a very narrow story. So it's not exactly something you can take to the bank, but they're this kind of cutthroat society of survival and whatever it takes to survive and to, progress. That's another society I would love to hear more about, like where they came from, if they were really truly capable of love, if they still are. I mean, we have a character like Marchion Rowe who seems completely, I mean, disinterested in the first place. But
I mean, not outside of like the physical, because we know he got physical, but that's just the
that's just the primal aspect of
right,
things, right?
right,
Yeah,
right, exactly.
and again, he uses that as a tool as well, right? So it's just another tool that he has to fulfill both the urge side of things, but also
Yep.
as a manipulation tactic. And so But yeah, anyway, I kind of thought about the Evering in that capacity too. I thought that was kind of interesting. But yeah, good question. We always like Thrawn questions.
Steph says, I absolutely believe the Chiss are capable of. Thrawn seems a bit different than the others. Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I think Thrawn is probably the extreme if he had to do that, right? But I think
Yeah. Or
in my head
Alani,
canon.
or Alani's kind of along the same lines though.
Yep.
But yeah, it's interesting. I really hope that I'm glad that he asked Timothy's on this question, but it was a little disappointing. And Thrawn or Zahn's answer was more or less, well, I haven't really written about that. So we hadn't really thought about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also one of those things where sometimes those writers don't want to paint themselves in the box because then someone takes that quote and now they feel like they have to, uphold what they thought in that moment rather than
Right,
giving it
yeah.
some thought or
Put you
maybe
on
he's
the
working
spot.
something in later.
Well, and then it's like, do people really care? It's
Rob
on
does.
some level.
I'm kidding. Ash says Chiss age like milk.
So
Probably.
they get clumpy and more sour.
It's accelerated. Yeah. What about Palpatine? Can Palpatine love? No,
He loves power.
I don't think he's capable.
You know what kind of power he likes, Albert?
What?
Unlimited power.
Unlimited power. Unlimited power. There you go. There's a line. Who else could have said that
True.
line that way? But no, he's not capable of love because he is, at least by George Lucas, he is the devil, right? So,
Right. But he's a human, so humans are capable though. So
yeah, not him.
all right. Thanks for
He's
the question.
inhuman.
That was a good one. He's inhuman. He's an inhuman. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Steph has a few questions here for us.
Okay.
So number one, if Anakin is so powerful in the Force, how is he not on the master list of Force sensitive children? Also, how is that list actually formed? So we don't know if he was on the list or not, but I kind of how I interpreted some of this was Palpatine, didn't want anybody to know about Anakin specifically anyway.
Mm.
So even if he would have been noted or identified for a list, Palpatine would have made sure that it likely didn't happen.
Yeah. Although, well, I don't know. So wait a minute. So Palpatine, he was aware of the rift in the Force when he was created, right? But he didn't know Anakin until much later.
Well, right, but if you look at the comic and take the Vader comic at face value, it appears that he knows about it and was already manipulating things to that end, though.
Yeah, I guess that's one way to look at it. I don't think that's a wrong way to look at it at all. It's just a different way. But I would say, for me, the galaxy is huge, and there are, at least at the time of even the time of the Phantom Menace, I mean, there are a lot of Jedi out there, but I still don't know that they can capture all of them. Like by capture, I mean, well, bad choice of words for the Jedi going around taking kids, but what I mean by logging all of them, right? I don't know if they can log all of them. So I think a lot of them were families coming forward, and I think we're going to learn some of this in the Ahsoka series, believe it or not.
Yeah,
Or
potentially.
not the Ahsoka, the Tales of the Jedi, right? That Ahsoka tale is probably going to give us some insight into how this happens. I know there were some Clone War episodes as well where they kind of touched on this just a little bit, but families acknowledged that they had a Force sensitive and that the best thing they could do for this child was to send them off to the Jedi so they could understand how to control it, harness it, so they couldn't hurt themselves or other people, right? That's kind of the gist of it. That said, I think for somebody like Anakin Skywalker, one, he was in the middle of a crap hole on Tatooine. And this is well, depending on your perspective, this is before everything's happened at Tatooine. So no one expected to be out. I mean, it's so far out there. Plus, he was a slave, right? So given the fact that he's a slave, given the fact that he's on this remote desert planet of Tatooine, did he really have a lot of opportunities and probably living in a very, very small town too, right? Small village, small community. Did he have a lot of opportunities to really demonstrate that he was Force sensitive? And I think the answer is, with the exception of pod racing, probably not.
Well, and would people have even recognized it anyway?
Yeah.
To your point of being out there so remotely. They just have a talent.
Exactly. So, that's probably how he slipped under the radar for the most part. There is I think it was in what do you call that book? Plagueis. In the Plagueis novel, they kind of talk about how Palpatine was never identified as part of the Sith. Like how is somebody that steep in the dark side able to just get by the Jedi radar, right, as being Force sensitive. And there's I think in the way they kind of allude to that in Plagueis was that the dark side was kind of like protecting him,
Mhm.
like he was clouded. The dark side was so strong with him. The dark side itself was somehow had a veil of secrecy around him, and so that's how he was able to kind of get by. Which eventually become that phantom menace that no one could detect. So I mean, I think it's kind of cool to even think about it from that perspective. What if the Force itself was, if he was the antithesis of Plagueis, maybe the Force was somehow protecting Anakin in some way until the time was right for him to be discovered. And of all people, I mean, who better person to find him than Qui-Gon Jinn, right? Someone who's so in tune with the living Force. And that's headcanon. That's a theory that's not anything official, but
Right.
maybe that's a possibility too.
Right. And then, how's the list formed? I think some of this is family members or a family lineage. I think is also one where you could do that. Jedi who have come, and do you have other family members? We also know that not all children, show or present their Force
Mhm.
abilities
Right away.
at such an early age, and they come over time. So I think that's another
Luke
aspect of
Skywalker.
it. Yeah, and I think it's also, the Jedi baby stealers probably, it takes them some time to get around and to find everybody. So
Yeah.
and there's tons that are not ever identified. But I think some of this after Order 66 may have been more important to begin to actually, log them more, especially and store them in a very safe and secure place. So to try to identify who could, potentially resurrect the Order over time. And so it may have been a bit more, there may have been some concerted effort there, especially by Jocasta Nu, to continue to develop that list as well
Hmm.
in some ways. But yeah, good question. That we could probably talk about that one all night long. But we have a lot of questions to get to. So Stephanie had another one here. What do you think pushed Pong Krell over to the dark side? Of course, she did a Clone Wars rewatch, and we talked a little about this a few days ago. But
Oh, okay.
it seems like Dooku convinced him that the Jedi were going to lose the war and offered him power. But that doesn't explain why a Jedi would stray so far. Do you think this is just more evidence of the effects of the Jedi becoming commanders of war?
I think this one. I think this is an easy answer. I hope so. I think it's the premonition, right? So Prong Krell has and I don't remember which happened first.
I've got the quote here. So I've actually got the quote. Yeah.
Go ahead.
So Pong's actually, I think he's saying this to Rex. A new power is rising. I've foreseen it.
Yeah.
The Jedi are going to lose this war, and the Republic be ripped apart from the inside.
So the way I interpret that line is, so he had this premonition that of what Order 66 was going to be, and the Emperor coming into power, and that was a new power, et cetera, right? What I don't know, that's kind of not clear, it's a little foggy in my head, is did the premonition happen prior to Dooku's influence, or was one the byproduct of the other? In either way, in either instance, I think it works. But Pong Krell is just a sleazebag. Like, he's a slimo, right? He wants to partner with, ally with whoever is going to be powerful. At the time, it was the Republic and the Jedi, and he sees that's going away. He believes in the premonition so much and so strongly that he's like, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna switch sides here. And then Dooku, either before or after, tells him, I can help you and give you all kinds of power. And he's looking at it as like, okay, this is my career ladder, right? This is my career path at this point.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I mean, we don't really have a lot of
Yeah.
context beyond that. But yeah, it definitely seems like Pong Krell enjoys being in a position of authority at the very least.
Mhm.
And it seems like that's just something that he's wanting to continue doing. He doesn't want to be a loser. He wants to be on the winning side. And if the Jedi are losing, now he could have we've seen this with other Jedi. They have a very particular view of how they believe the Jedi Order should operate.
Yeah.
And again, we don't have enough of that philosophical type of view from him to understand if there's any kind of, I mean, it seems like there is some dissatisfaction with how things are going. But I think Stephanie's comment though about, the Jedi becoming commanders of war, I think it definitely can skew you going that path a little bit further than maybe you normally would, because we know the Jedi are making concessions left and right. And so Pong Krell might not be any different, and he's just being corrupted by that power and that, the dark side of things, and without really even realizing it until he's just kind of given into it.
Yeah, and to be fair, it's probably a combination of things. It's right. It's all of them, not just one of them. Hey, quickly, George Castro joins. Says, good evening. Currently listening as Hurricane Fiona drops 26 inches of rain over here. He says they're good. 14 hours, no power, but we're safe. My goodness. thanks for listening. I don't even know what to say. Hopefully you guys are, I mean, you got power, I guess, right? If you're watching this on your phone or whatever, but just stay safe, man. You and your family. Hope everybody's safe there.
Yeah, and anybody that's dealing with the hurricane, we hope you do stay safe, and yeah, please take care of one another.
Yep.
Okay, part 3, last question for Stephanie, and this is definitely for you. Will Maz Kanata appear in Tales of the Jedi?
We can hope that she does not.
Well, that was disappointing.
I don't understand why we're getting so much Maz. Like, no, Steph, I don't want her. I don't want her in the show. She's not a Jedi. She's Force sensitive, but no, she's not a Jedi. Therefore, she does not qualify to have a tale told about her. Next question, please. Next question. You in the back.
I'm disappointed. We only had like 3 questions that mentioned Maz in the show.
There's been
There's
more
still more.
questions about Maz than ever before, and it's too many. It's 3 too many at this point.
Okay, if you say so.
Was that the last one for her?
That was. Thanks, Steph.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Way to end strong there, Steph. Cab. Okay, so this is an inside joke.
This is an inside joke on Discord, but yes, let's entertain people here.
We'll entertain Cab because he's a very long time listener and supporter and a good friend. If Chris Pine ever joined the cast of Star Wars Project, what character archetype would you want him to play? A Force user, politician, smuggler, sidekick? Jonesy, what's your answer? Chris Pine, A-list actor or not?
Wait, yeah. So a little background. In Discord, there is a debate about whether or not Chris Pine is an A-list actor or not an A-list actor. Yeah. And there's a lot of debate. And we have some people who feel strongly one way or the other. And there's a lot of people like me who just like to fan the flames.
Yes.
And so I thought a lot about this. I think I thought more about this question than I did anything else for this show, by the way. And so I don't even want to go archetype. I've already cast Chris Pine.
Oh, have you?
Yes, because
I already know what it is.
What do you think?
No, I'm kidding. No, I was going to say it's probably Thrawn.
No, it's not.
Okay.
I had to think of someone who would be totally epic and someone that needs a really big A-list personality to really define the character. Mm-hmm. And also, I started thinking about Tuan, to be honest with you, and what would irritate Tuan the most. Like I said, fan the flames. Mm-hmm. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with a Rebels character that Tuan loves. And I'm going to say Chris Pine is the Bendu.
That's a terrible answer, but I respect your opinion, Jonesy. It's a funny answer, that's for sure.
Yes,
I had smuggler down. Like that's all I had. That's about as much as I thought.
Now you're typecasting him because he's in Dungeons and Dragons as
thief,
that kind
I think,
of
or something, rogue or something.
Yeah, thief, I think. Yeah, and Captain Kirk is basically a swindler a bit, a bit of a scoundrel in some ways.
What about him as Thrawn? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't think so on that one.
Chris Pine to play Cosmonauta. No, Maz.
I'm sorry, but see, not even a real fan. Not going to acknowledge
I think
that.
She's trying to play on that, but yeah, okay. I don't have anything more for this one. Cab, sorry, I probably disappointed you, but
all right,
I'm glad Jonesy put the effort and thought into it.
We agree. The Bendu.
I'm good with that answer.
Okay. All right. Here's a more serious question for you. This is from Uthal. If you could live the life of one on-screen movie, TV, live, or animated Star Wars character, who would it be, and why?
So I immediately blurted out Yoda without any thought about it, and that's only because my obsession with like history and wanted to know everything, and like somebody that's been around that long is Yoda first comes to mind.
You know who else has been around for a long time?
I knew you were going to say it, and that's why. No, I'm not going to live the life of that little pervert lady. I'm not doing it.
It sounds really interesting.
Oh, I bet. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Lots of free drinks, lots of creepy moments and awkward moments for everybody around. But that's your thing.
A lot of crawling on tables, adjusting your goggles. I mean,
goggles, and
how could you not love this lifestyle?
Yeah, I don't know. But Yoda was the first one that came to mind just because he had lived such a long life and had been around for so long. And then I went further back and thought Porter Engle, just because I think his back, even though we don't know much about him, although we're going to know a whole lot about him very soon.
And you like cooking?
And I like cooking, yeah. But somebody that's like, again, someone who's been around for such a long time and had this like past where he was the A-list star of the Jedi, like the
The
shining
Chris
star of
Pine
the
of
Jedi,
the Chris
the
Pine
Chris
of the
Pine
Jedi.
of the High Republic, and then yet he's now living his life as the chef, but still in the midst of everything, and still, I mean, goodness, there was at least 2 moments in the High Republic where
Mhm.
had Porter Engle not been there, you know, I don't know how that would have went. So
Right.
I don't know, something fascinating about somebody that was just that, awesome in his heyday, and then getting to see him a little bit later. I also threw in Hondo Tanaka in there
Oh,
because I think I
yeah,
mean, you talk about somebody who's lived just every kind of,
yeah.
been everywhere, seen everything, done everything.
Somehow gets out of it, all of it,
Yeah.
and gets away with it. Yeah,
Yep.
Hondo's my man.
I want to be there for that.
That
And then the last one,
I just want to talk like Hondo.
it's not that hard. The last one is Thrawn. And part of that, so I know that seems kind of
Boring. Yeah,
maybe, but I think it's just more about for me. I think it's more about the Chiss and trying to and knowing more about them. I mean, the Ascendancy series gave us a lot, but there are certain things that I still want to know how they fit in the canon, because my lines are getting blurred between Thrawn and Legends now and Thrawn and canon. But there is a part of me that really wants to know, like, what if Thrawn has like a ultimate plan here, without getting into all that, because I know he was in the comic book. They found him, right. That was it, the Imperials that found him, and they allowed him to kind of be in there. But then at the same time, he was sizing up the Republic versus um, the
right.
Separatists. Or no, oh shoot, I'm losing it. What my answer though is really Thrawn, because I just want to know more about what he's trying to do.
Sure.
What are the Chiss trying to do right now? And really, where this is coming to is, are we going to get a Yuzon Vong kind of situation later down the road? But there's actually another question later that I'll talk about here on that.
Right.
All right, I rabbled enough. Go on. What was yours?
Yeah, Hondo.
Oh, that was yours.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I mean,
all
it's got to be Hondo because, I mean, yeah, like I said, you talk about a life of just absolute chaotic living
right.
and somehow getting away with it all and keeping, and just his view of life is just completely entertaining to me and just interesting that he's just always like, well, I guess we'll have to figure this out tomorrow kind of thing, and we'll do it, and
Yeah.
I just absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Anything Hondo, anything and everything Hondo.
Cool. All right, let's move on to Fan Solo's question or question. In Rogue One, when Cassian says, "I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old," do we know if this fight is purely the fight against the Empire, or are we getting into the Clone Wars time frame? I hope we get context for that line in the new series. Thanks, guys. Stay classy.
Yep. Have a good summer. Stay cool.
Yep. Stay cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think we do expect Andor to answer this question a little more clearly for us, because it's not totally clear what he means by it. But I think where I've settled on is that he's been in the fight since he was 6 when it comes to oppression and feeling like his world is constantly, they don't have control over their own destiny, and that his world has been taken away. They've been enslaved, or they've been put into service, like indentured servitude,
Yeah.
whatever it might be, their home world stripped of all of its resources. And a lot of that could probably be laid at the feet of the Empire, or what maybe became the Empire. Maybe what's interesting, I think, is whether or not he still view, since they were part of the CIS, or sided with them,
Mhm.
do they still view the Republic as the Empire? Or is the Republic the Empire, or do they still view that the CIS was the Confederacy was the right place to be?
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll get that question answered, but I hope we do get a little bit of clarity there too. But anyway, I usually think of it in those terms, that everything that he has experienced, it just seems to be, and we've heard this before, it doesn't matter who's in power. It's the same, for the people on the very low rung of the ladder. It just doesn't matter. It's just somebody else in power, and they're still, throwing everything downhill.
Yeah.
And so they're the ones that catch it all, the ones who are just the true boots on the ground, the true, the people who just have no say in anything. And so I think a lot of it is maybe coming from that. I think Andor is definitely going to tell us some more specifics about what it is that he feels he has lost since he was 6 years old. It could be,
Um,
and some of it could be whenever he lost his dad, because we don't know when he actually loses his dad or his family. Yeah.
right. You know, you said it best. I mean, that was pretty much everything that I had as far as notes go. The only thing I would add is I think there are some visual clues, and I think we brought this up when we talked about one of the trailers or one of the behind the scenes or something. We talked about the stormtrooper. There were some clone troopers at some point, right?
Right.
And we couldn't really place where that was in the timeline, but so it does sound like this could be right at the at the end of the Clone Wars or sometime during that transition period before we get to the full looking stormtrooper outfits. So I think it's possible that we'll get some. That's kind of where it started, but your answer is best. It's really about the war itself and the oppression that he's feeling. That's what all started when he was 6 years old.
Right.
Never ending fight.
Yeah. So anyway, stay tuned, Fan Solo, because we're probably gonna have a lot more opinions on that one starting next week or later this week, I guess. Now, right?
Yeah,
that's pretty exciting.
Like 5 days.
Sweet.
Oh well, no, 3 days. Sorry.
Well, Thursday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wednesday,
one of these
but
days.
Thursday morning.
This week. We'll just go with that. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Fan Solo. Lucid Truth. What was your favorite Star Wars toy as a kid, and what's your favorite memorabilia that you own now? And you have to keep your answer within 5 minutes, Albert.
Oh, good Lord. Favorite memorabilia now?
Yeah. So favorite Star Wars toy as a kid, and then do you have anything that's a specific piece of memorabilia you're super proud of right now?
Yeah. Okay, so favorite Star Wars toys as a kid. I've posted this picture on my social media pages, but there's a picture of me opening the Millennium Falcon, like the box at my birthday. And I got that when I want to say I was probably about 8. Yeah, probably about 8 years old is when I got that. So that's probably my favorite toy. And prior to that, my favorite toys were the X-Wing, because I remember getting that on Christmas, and the TIE Fighter from the first Star Wars. So back around 70, probably about 79.
Now, was your X-Wing the one that made the noises and stuff?
Yeah, you push the R2-D2's head down, and it would open up the wings, and then it had the little red light that would come on and make
the TIE Fighter's wings would the panels would pop off.
Yeah, they pop off. Yep.
Never really get back on all the way.
And then the third one, before I get to my favorite memorabilia, which is actually behind me, if anybody wants to see, but I'll pull it out in a second. The third thing that I loved the most was there was a Star Wars electronic racetrack, and I've always wanted to go back and buy this thing, but I got that around probably about the same time, 79, 80, so around there. But it was just a racetrack, and it had it was electronic, so you had these little little grips that you'd pull, and one person would have the TIE Fighter, and the other person would have the X-Wing, and just race them around the track. But I just have such fond memories. I mean, I played with that thing for so many hours. But
that's cool. I never had that one.
Yeah. If I had to pick a figure, though, Bespin or Luke and the Fatigues as well. That was my favorite action figure.
Same here. Yeah, so I think favorite toy growing up, I mean, it was a lot like Albert. Like the Millennium Falcon was amazing. You take the back off, you had rooms for all the figures. It was huge. The landing gear usually worked, things like that. The X-Wing was also really cool because, again, all the things Albert said. My favorite figure also was the Bespin Luke and Bespin
really?
Fatigues. Yeah,
we didn't plan that. I think we had the second favorite too. What's your second favorite?
Second favorite was I think like the AT-AT driver of all things.
That's mine too.
Yeah.
See, this is why we're friends, folks.
Yeah, I guess we're friends again. Well, we'll see if you come around on Maz Kanata, and then we'll figure it out. Memorabilia is hard. I mean, it's really hard. So behind me, like one of my more recent memorabilia is the celebration books that we got for the High Republic novels. They're absolutely brilliant. I mean, they're just absolutely beautiful. But I mean, gosh, like right behind me, above my head, is this General Giant Darth Vader with the kneeling base, that lights up. I've got another General Giant, the Royal Guard, like in the red, which is really, really freaking sweet.
I don't think I've ever seen that one. Not yours anyway.
I thought about I need to put it on for a Patreon show and tell, but it's like on the top shelf, and I had to exercise in order to get to it. But I've got so many cool. I mean, my brother gave me a Timothy Zahn autograph book, like from one of the books that we grew up with, like one of our copies, and he gave me that, and that was really cool, And so I've got a lot of things like that are just mean something to me. So picking one is really is really tough. And then I'll stumble over something else and be like, oh my gosh, like I have the episode 2 trailer reel, the one that was called Snake Eyes. And so I've actually got that. It's never been opened or anything like that, and it's in safekeeping. So that's, again, kind of cool, too. So I've just got so many little knickknacks here and there that I've just had over the years. And when I started back up collecting, they just kind of started piling up. But
Yeah, I mean, same. I'm looking around. I'm like, holy crap! I could be here all night talking about breaking out stuff to show. But the one thing I pulled from the back is, and this is the lunchbox that I had, which is the Return of the Jedi lunchbox.
Nice.
And I have everything in it too. I'll show you in a second here. I know, sorry about the loud noises, but this is the one that I used to take to school. And then inside here, though,
You've got your action figures, don't you?
They're in there. Some of them are. I've got the Darth Vader case. I can't see it right now, but I've got a Darth Vader collector's case, and it's full, like completely full, with a lot of the original figures. There's the thermos, or the little thermos on the inside. You take that off.
Yep. Remember that picture for a question we're going to have here in just a few moments.
Yep. But inside here, I have this is like an original. This is one of the cloth Jawas. It's not the vinyl ones, which is like crazy money, but this is an original Jawa.
Wait, is it furry?
No, it's not furry. Okay. It's not furry. But I've got this one here.
Oh, we got Greedo.
Look at that. That's the blue
Snaggletooth. Oh, Snaggletooth. There you go.
Yeah, it's Snaggletooth. But I've got the red one. This was the one that was in the movie. This is the one that had the costume, and it was the really hard to find one now because it was a misprint. And they're different heights. I don't know if anybody's ever seen that, but totally different heights. So anyways, I've got a bunch of old action figures that I keep in here.
Oh, that was always one of my favorites too. Was R2 with the little periscope.
Yeah,
that was also another one of my favorites.
This is the original. He didn't have a periscope on.
No, I know. Yeah, but in the ones that came later too. But no, he was always one of my favorites. Yeah, the clicking
noise. If you can hear that.
Wow, that's obnoxious. Stop it.
Okay. So yeah, there's more. Someday, if you ever come over to my house, I'll be happy to break all these out. And we can play action figures. Not you, Jonesy. I meant anybody listening besides you.
I'm just going to bring all my Maz Kanata figures then. I'm just going to set them on your front door.
One figure I will not buy is the Maz Kanata. I do not have that. And if you wrap that up for Christmas, I'm going to punch you in the face. Okay, let's go to the next question now.
Okay, yeah. Our final Patreon question from Rob.
So Rob says, based on the events featuring Mount Tantus in Chapter 14, Season 1 of the Bad Batch, titled War Mantle, which we talked about, and then the mention of Thrawn by Ahsoka in Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, titled The Jedi, is it possible that the new Ahsoka series might set up for a Disney Plus retcon of Timothy Zahn's 1990 novels, the Thrawn trilogy? Would you want to see the story brought back as a way to have closure to the Disney era Thrawn storylines regardless? And is Snoke actually Jorah Sabayoth?
Wow, yeah, there's a lot there. So is it a retcon? I don't even know if we can call it a retcon anymore because it's so different now than what canon is and where it's gone that it seems like if you're using the word retcon, it's been retcon for years. It's just there's the Jorah Sabaoth, or however they want to pronounce it. I always pronounced it Sabaoth, but that was wrong apparently. It's just not necessarily the accuracy anymore. It doesn't seem to be accurate anymore. It would be really cool if it was Snoke, and if somehow Snoke got introduced that way. But are we going to see this though in Ahsoka or in Mandalorian? I think no. I don't see this in some of the newer content coming out because I think it would have to be, well, yeah. I think Mandalorian, no, because it's all going to be Mando based or Mandalore based.
Right.
Ahsoka, yeah, we'll definitely get something, but again, is it going to be this story? I think this is all well past all of that, so probably not. So I really don't think we're going to have anything that's going to really reference specifically, Mount Tantus with Thrawn's direct relationship to it. I just don't. I'm trying to think how it will. I'm trying to think where it would fit in, and with all of these timelines, it just doesn't seem to work very well, unless they really do start to tweak things once Thrawn comes back. But again, that means they would not have to resolve Ahsoka in that kind of way, like they have with Grand Moff Gideon, for example. Even though that's been resolved, we know that Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in season 3 of Mandalorian as well. But what about you? How do you view Thrawn going forward in some of these storylines, and how this works with the original trilogy, or the original Thrawn trilogy?
Okay, so I would say I think they're going okay. Uh I'm gonna put myself out there. I could be completely wrong, and it's contradictory what you just said. But
Mhm.
that's okay, because again, we get to be right either way. I think they are trying to set something up. And so when we talked about this, what was it that we talked about this on? Was it a Patreon episode
I think so.
for Bad Batch? We
I think
kind of
so.
touched the surface of this a little bit. And to kind of just recap and kind of add some additional thoughts now, since that some time has passed since then, I think that the name dropping of Tantus to me was kind of like one of the first signals that
Okay.
they're dipping their toe into this in some way. The You couple that with somebody like Snoke, who I think would be they could even if you don't buy into, or you put the clones aside of Snoke, right? To me, there had to have been a character that was a Snoke originally, or maybe not. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter. But you could have somebody who was force sensitive and somebody that was crazy. It could be one of the strains or variations of Snoke that's in there as well, right? We know they were experimenting on cloning. Could they twist this as okay? He wasn't because Sabaoth was like a Jedi from the Clone Wars, right?
Right.
And he just gone crazy for whatever reason. In and he was cloned or whatever, and so the same kind of concept could happen here, where or same concept but different telling, where somebody like Snoke was being created through a lab, and they had the DNA of somebody who maybe was force sensitive at some point, and that's what kind of started all of that whole clone series of the Snoke. So I think that part fits in there. um we know that the Disney series, the television series, and I listened to this just recently because we were talking about it. Was it the last episode when Kathleen Kennedy came out and she was talking about all the stuff they were announcing in 2019 that was coming down the road? She said all these television series were going to end in a major event
Right.
of some sort, which we have yet to see. It's not been talked about. It's not been discussed. That kind of left a lot of people to kind of scratch their heads and go, like, what kind of event could we be talking about? Well, could the event be something like an Heir to the Empire, where you're laying down the groundwork, the foundational stuff for that story to be told? Now, would it be a retcon? No, and I know what Rob's saying. It's not technically a retcon, right? A retcon is something that they fix that's contradictory to what originally happened.
Right.
This would just be a retelling, like an
Yeah,
updated
exactly.
version of it, which we've seen Disney do already. They've done this
Sure.
many times with certain things on Legends. But you could reintroduce Luke Skywalker just as easily into this whole story again, right? Even probably more troublesome, but I mean it's still similar, right? He's still trying to rebuild everything. I think where it gets a little hairy though is when you start talking about the all the books and the content that we have, like just prior to the Rise of Skywalker and Bloodline, stuff like that. This never gets mentioned,
Yeah.
and to me, it feels like it'd be such a huge event that they would be referencing. And we get why they don't reference this, because it's, they're kind of going back and telling it, but they've also kind of left it open to say, well, Luke Skywalker did have a lot of adventures. He did a lot more wonderful things and amazing things. And we just have never told those stories yet. So I think you could probably brush that aside and say, okay, well, that's fine. If it's never come up before, but these things did really happen. And the last thing, and I've been saying this stupid theory since what was it? Since was it after Force Awakens? Yeah, I think it was right after Force Awakens, prior to Last Jedi. I've had this stupid theory that one of the reasons, not the only reason, but one of the primary reasons why Luke Skywalker was on Ahch-To and why he left and had kind of cut himself off was also because he had a wife or a lover of some sort, Amara Jade, and she died, and he never got over it, and that sort of thing. So that would fit into my little theory as far as that goes too, meaning that we could bring in Amara Jade, and she would just have been killed off at some point. Maybe it's Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren. I mean, they could work those guys. They'd have to work them into this in some way because that's all in that timeline.
Yeah. I like what you were saying though. It really does feel like we're really starting to squeeze the time period now between, I guess, really like where Mandalorian is at and where Force Awakens would be. And I like the idea of getting more Snoke, though. Make no mistake, I would love for Snoke to get worked in somewhere. But this time period it seems like it's just getting narrower and narrower and narrower. And we know things happen. I don't have a problem with that. but their ability to put in really big events in that period of time seems more and more challenging the more content that we fill in.
Yeah.
And the more that goes into this gap, especially as we start, now we're talking about restoring Mandalore, at least doing something with Mandalore, and so there's all these things, and you can understand why Mandalore might not be referenced in the original, in the core trilogy or the core saga, because it's not necessarily relevant to those series of events, at least the way that's playing out right now.
Yeah.
But something like this, you would think that might, if it were to peak in something, bigger than that, you would think that yes. And I get this. We're going back in time just to tell some of these stories. But again, I think that's part of the complaint that people have had is when we've done this, how good are we at, how good are Kathleen Kennedy and company at really doing some of these stories? And we have a little bit of a mixed bag. Sometimes they get it really, really right. And then sometimes they're missing the mark a bit. And so I think that's the challenge with some of this stuff. And so I get a little nervous when we talk about retelling some of this. I'm like, let's just tell a new story. Let's just tell the story on its own, tangent, and let that be the story rather than trying to shoehorn it all in to fit with the saga, core, which I think they've been doing a really good job of saying, no, this stuff it's saga adjacent and it's canon, but it doesn't necessarily have to affect the saga, directly. And so that's why I'm a little bit nervous about these giant events, If it's a giant event for the Mandoverse, cool. For this kind of Mando, timeline that we've got going on, then yeah, cool.
Yeah, you're right. Because, and the other thing is they didn't really give it, I mean, that line, it's void of any context. We just, some event, right? I mean, it could mean 2 of the shows are going to culminate in that. It could mean all of the shows are going to culminate in that. And I would agree.
Well, again, we thought we had other content. Sorry, we thought we were having Rangers of the New Republic. We thought we were having Rogue Squadron. We thought we had this other stuff that sold that idea a little bit easier of that kind of that stream of consciousness. And so it's difficult to see if that is even still a pipe dream from what Kathleen Kennedy referenced years ago. Right. And at this point, kind of seems like maybe it's being restructured anyway.
So, and no, you're actually, you just said what I was about to say. And I was even thinking if they still wanted to go down this path, I think the Ahsoka series kind of is going to, I mean, with the exception of Thrawn, right? There's going to be some connection there because of Thrawn himself. He has to be a part of this in some way, right? It would probably be a good way for Thrawn to be offed as well. Because he's not going to be living into the Rise of Skywalker series or that era, right? On top of that, the Mandalorian thing feels like, you're right. It feels like that's just it's not relevant, and it never was as part of the original Thrawn series. So I think that just kind of sits on its own. So then really the only thing you're left with at that point is the Bad Batch, right? Unless they introduce something new. But where I was going was I wouldn't mind if they just took this and still told the story, but did it animated.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
They introduce another, and that way they could have like the Mark Hamill come back and do the voices and all that stuff. And they don't have to worry about de-aging and everything else, but some way of retelling that story through the animated stuff. I mean, you could have what's his name come back and play Snoke as far as the voice goes.
Yeah, Andy Serkis.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's.
And you wouldn't have to worry about casting Thrawn because you've already got the voice actor to do it.
Yep. Exactly. That'd probably be the easiest way to kind of pull that off. And I'd still love to see it. Like even if it's a variation of it, it's not to the book or to the letter of the law. I'd still be down with it because I just enjoyed that series so much. Okay.
Yep. All right. Thanks for the question, Rob. Yeah, and again, so that for all of our Patreon members, thank you so much. Again, if you're a Patreon member, you do guarantee your question to be answered. So thank you so much. We're starting to run a little low on time, so we'll get through the rest of these of the questions, but we'll have to do a little bit more of a quicker pace. Yeah. All right, so Obi Ben, so this came from Discord. So I'm always amazed that Chewbacca, and for that matter, other Wookiees don't wear clothes. What was George thinking? What other sentient beings run around the galaxy naked and apparently totally okay with it, as it seems is everyone else? Who's going to tell a Wookiee to put their pants on? Well, first of all, Ewoks don't wear clothes either.
Yeah, well, you took my answer.
Yeah. Okay, but on a serious note, but maybe more boring, is anyone concerned about the total lack of Star Wars films? Despite many announcements, it doesn't seem like we'll be getting anything anytime soon. I feel like this is a huge failure on the part of Disney. Do they know what they're doing? I'll let you take this one because you and I probably feel quite similarly on this one.
Yeah. Okay. So Ewoks is the quick answer there. Um, who's going to tell a Wookiee Pantheon? I don't know. No one's going to do that.
Yeah, no one's gonna do that. Get your arm ripped off.
Yep. On the serious note, so do they know what they're doing? Huh. I think it depends on. That's all very subjective, and it's a long answer. It's a long-winded answer. And so, what I would say is, if you listen to the last episode, we talked about doing a show on this. I think we should do a show on this. I think more and more
Yeah.
people. I've seen people asking this question now, especially a lot of it's because of the Rogue One cancellation or the removal. I shouldn't say cancellation because I've already been corrected on that. They removed it from the calendar. Okay, fine. Whatever you want to say.
Rogue Squadron.
Rogue
right.
Squadron. Sorry, what did I say? Rogue One.
Yeah.
Rogue Squadron, because that was removed from the calendar. Now people are screaming, and I get it. I think it's legit. Now I mentioned we had a good conversation with this at the foreign Fan Force Austin group. So, am I concerned about it? I don't know. I don't think I am.
We're disappointed. Make no mistake.
Disappointed, but I'm not concerned because I think what they've done with television has been pretty incredible, and it's just going to get better. So that's my short answer. But you go.
Yeah, very similar. I think let's focus on the stuff we can get right and that we have the most control over right now. And so that seems to be getting stuff out there on Disney Plus, building these, building several types of shows that we can enjoy and that we can get them somewhat consistently and regularly. Let's establish a pattern of high quality for a little while, and maybe something that's a bit, I hesitate to say this, but something that's a bit more unanimously enjoyed, I think, which we've been making a lot of progress on and kind of healing some of the wounds, I guess, of the past. But is it concerning? Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit concerning that we can't seem to get an idea about what a Star Wars movie should look like. But am I surprised at that? No, I'm actually not, because the movies predominantly have been all saga oriented. Your saga is over. Our saga is over, right? And so trying to figure out what that next thing looks like is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Now, you and I think they have a couple of things almost in the bag that they could choose to do, and it's a little surprising they haven't. Old Republic is one of those, and now High Republic is another one of those ideas. And so I would expect us to see one of those start to get some sort of traction at some point, given that High Republic has been very popular in the books, and now we need to get it on screen. And so we'll have Young Jedi or Young Jedi Adventures?
Yeah.
So we'll maybe see how that works. Yeah, the animated, it's really for kids, but we'll see how that one goes. And then we'll start to see how shows like Skeleton Crew or Acolyte, how do these other shows that we don't know a lot about and we don't really know how they fit, is there something in there that we can glean from? And then we can, again, build a new, quote unquote, saga of sorts, or a cinematic universe of sorts, and start to build that back out so that we do have something in the pipeline for movies.
Right.
So,
yeah. When we do this episode, whether it's Patreon or a regular episode, I've got a lot more other thoughts on TV versus film and why one or the other, the pros and cons of each and all that stuff. I need to get my thoughts out of my head and on paper, but more later. Okay. Ash, who's with us tonight? Return of the Jedi. Vader starts referring to Luke as my son multiple times, but Luke is Anakin's son, not Vader's. Here's the question. When Luke went to strike Palpatine, who blocked his strike? Was it Vader protecting Palpatine or Anakin protecting Luke? That's the first one. And the next one, Vader wants Palpatine dead, so why would he stop Luke?
Yeah, this is always a great debate question, right? You got to have drinks over this one to figure it out. I think, can it be both? Is it possible for it to be both? Because I think there's a certain amount of, loyalty still with Vader to Palpatine, of protecting his master in front of his master and it kind of being reflexive. But I also think some of it is also, I think there's definitely an argument for, like, no, Luke, you really don't want to do this. But again, Vader is taunting Luke throughout this entire sequence too. And this entire part of the movie, and again, this could just be for, Palpatine's benefit, but I think it's definitely, I feel it's both. And Ash came back in the chat and said she thinks it's both. It's this conflict. And yeah, I tend to agree with that. Vader definitely wants Palpatine supplanted, but he needs Luke, to kind of be pure in that kind of way. Otherwise, he would have just both of them turned on Palpatine right there and just say, hey, father-son tag team, let's see if we can do this now, I guess. But anyway, I'll kind of stop there and get your thoughts on it.
No, the conflict is what I put down in my notes. I said it really comes down that he's still conflicted, and Luke, in just the scenes prior to that, tells Vader the same thing. He says, "I can feel the conflict in you." He can sense the conflict in him.
Right.
And he says there is no conflict, and that's really what you're dealing with, right? Everything from the my sons to the fact that he blocked the lightsaber and thought, "Holy crap, why'd I do that? That was stupid." Just last movie I was telling him, "Let's destroy the Emperor together," but chalk it up to muscle memory, chalk it up to whatever. But he's not 100% on either side. It's not until Palpatine has his son there on the ground and realizes, "Holy crap, my son's going to die," that is when that switch is triggered and flipped. So
Yeah, and I like how you've said this numerous times over the year. Luke is inch by inch pulling Anakin out, and surfacing him more and more.
Yep.
So I do like that the dialogue is evolving into Anakin starting to resurface a bit more. And as Lauren says, blue team. Team Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi series is a losing side. Just going to leave it there.
Okay. Let's see. Next question is from
Scantron.
Scantron. I was like, Shantron? Scantron.
Right. So post Rise of Skywalker, what are the challenges Rey will have to face in rebuilding the Jedi Order?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, we don't have enough time.
We don't have time for that one. Man, it's a lot. So it's everything from how does she identify Force sensitives?
Right. To the question earlier. Yeah. How do you how do you find them?
How does she make that list? Right. Everything from that to, the same stuff that Luke had. How do we rebuild the temple? A lot of the ancient texts were gone, and we know Luke was kind of relying on some of that stuff. So now what does she do? I mean, it feels like she's going to have to lean on the Force ghosts and talk to them and say, okay, hey, what did you do here? How did you do that kind of thing? Resources are going to be a problem.
Just establishing the curriculum. I mean, let's just talk about it in like pure educational standpoints. Like, what is the right thing to teach at this point?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like what is the dogma of the Jedi? Is it,
right,
with the Luke Skywalker tried and true kind of thing that he was trying to do, or is it more of this, new era of Jedi that Rey's more in touch with?
I think something else that would be is interesting is, will the galaxy tolerate more Jedi? Because I mean, how many times do we have to see Force users wielding red lightsabers to think that the Jedi are just as bad as everyone else, and that's what brings this out. Yeah. It's this idea of like when you have superheroes, now you have supervillains. You don't have supervillains until you have. I think this is what was this? This is the Incredibles idea, right? I think Incredibles they had this rule.
Yeah,
if the supers weren't around, the supers weren't around until or the supervillains weren't around until the supers were around. So at some point, does the galaxy say, no, seriously, knock it off? And we kind of had this in Legends a little bit too, right? Anytime something would go wrong, it was the Jedi Order. Like, these are your people. Why are they going crazy? If you remember that storyline on New Jedi Order. And so, and so everyone starts to turn against the Jedi and they need more control. You have to control the people who have power. And so when they make that first mistake, what are you going to do?
Yeah. Even, it was talking to Ash earlier this week about kyber crystals. Like, where Ilum's gone and all that. So, where...
I know where they can find two.
Huh?
I know where they could find two.
Yeah.
In the sands of Tatooine.
They're buried down deep in there. I mean, maybe that synthetic crystals comes back. We know, what's his name? Galen Erso was messing with those.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another, resources. Just the stuff they need to be Jedi. What does that look like? Or where are they going to find all that stuff? Because a lot of it's gone now.
They'll just start mining the worlds around Endor to see if there were kyber fragments that landed on the planets and the moons.
Well, I mean, kyber crystals they can be found in other places. Just Ilum was just
concentrated,
heavy concentration of them, right? So they still pop up, but it's hard to find those things now.
Right.
Okay. Qui-Gon Jinn says, that's the one we're on here. Yeah. At what point did Luke know who his mother was and who his mother? Wait, what
was? So when did he learn who his mother was? But then how important his mother was is how I interpret that.
Okay,
one.
I got it. Yep.
Yeah. We don't really. Do we know specifically when he found out about Padme Amidala? I want to say it happened like in the comic books or something, but I don't. I didn't have enough time to go and research that one.
It would have had to been in the Charles Soule run.
Yeah, maybe. It's been a while, and then because I think with Leia, I think Leia learned about it through the Nabiri family, I believe through like Pooja or someone like that, and so presumably she would learn the importance of Padme through Leia as she learned more, and they kind of learned more about their family history together. But I just can't remember if we actually got any concrete information about when Luke learned all this stuff.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I don't know, and I don't know when this question came in because I didn't even see it.
No,
But-
it came in like at the last minute on Discord, so I grabbed it.
yeah, this is when I would have had gone to research so nothing jumps out at me like there was like a whole series or an issue where he suddenly read about Padme and all that. So that tells me if it did happen, then I just completely missed it. But I'm sure it happened at some point. It's a good question. I wonder if that story hasn't been told. If it, would
Yeah, because we get the other side of it. We know when Leia learns more about Darth Vader being her father. Of course, Luke tells her, but then the aftermath of all of that too in Bloodline and
the legacy and the stigma that stuck with her once they found out.
Absolutely right. So yeah, good question, Qui-Gon Jay. We'll have to do a little bit more. I did want to throw it in there because I know he did put it in there in Discord right at the last minute. So I want to acknowledge we did get it, even if we don't know the answer. We don't know everything. Well, people probably shout at the radios and say, "Well, duh."
Yeah, we don't know everything.
Okay, speed round. So the actual speed round. So Eugene, man, he came on fire and just gave us, I think, literally like 45 questions all in one post.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to do this real fast. And I kind of put them in sections. So we'll take sections at a time, I guess. And I'll start us off here. And I'll read each one of these for you. So would you rather a spinoff about Poe Dameron's childhood or Finn's abduction?
So we got Poe Dameron's childhood, sort of.
Yeah, in the
so
comics
I would say
a
Finn's
little bit.
abduction.
I'm with Finn's abduction as well. I think that's actually more interesting. All right, second one. Lando and Luke or Scoundrel Lover Lando?
Scoundrel Lover Lando.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Calrissian Chronicles. I want that story.
Yeah, right.
Although I would love to see Lando and Luke as Shadow of the Sith in a like an actual visual, TV show or movie or something.
Well, I like the books, the original Lando Calrissian books that were out.
Oh yeah,
that came out in the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
So
gotcha.
Similar.
Okay, next one is you want more about Dexter Jetster or Sid and Moochie?
I don't really care for any of these characters.
Yeah, I'll go Dex though.
Yeah, I guess Dex.
All right, this next one's easy. Hondo Anaka
Hondo,
or Han
next
Solo?
question, please.
Right, everything's Hondo. All right, Death Troopers or Clone Troopers? We got so much on Clone Troopers. I think I want Death Troopers.
Yeah, Death Troopers for me as well.
We don't really know
More
a whole lot
background
about them. Yeah. Okay.
Well, at
next
least
one.
in canon, anyways.
Right, yeah, exactly. Okay, it's rumored that Daisy Ridley is re-entering Star Wars. So a couple questions here. Would she have the Falcon?
Yes.
Okay. Would Chewie have gone back to Kashyyyk to live with his family?
Probably. And that's a tough one for me. Yeah, so it's tough. I can go either way, to be honest.
Okay.
But the more I thought about it, it's like, okay, he's lost his best friend. The galaxy is, I guess, at peace at this point. He's been away and fighting this war for so long. I think for him, it's like, you know what? This is a sign. I probably need to just hang it up. And would he get called again at some point? Maybe. But I think for him, I can see him just going back and saying, okay, I've done what I needed to do. I've served my time in the galaxy and I need a rest.
See, I disagree on that one. I think with Chewie, it's about the relationships he has. And I think these are his family. And so I kind of see it as
So
he
would
would
that
probably
be dad?
well,
Okay. All right.
Wookiees are different, I guess. So I kind of think that he would stick with Rey.
No.
Okay. Next question.
Next question.
Are Purrgil too cheesy and weird, or do they add to the Star Wars universe?
If you're Mike Rondo, yes. Too cheesy and weird. Do they add to the Star Wars universe? Yeah, I think they're fascinating.
Yeah. And let's be
creatures.
honest, Star Wars is cheesy and weird. So
Yeah,
they fit
it's
right in.
Very true. This whole saga is cheesy and weird. I want to know more about Purrgil. They actually have some stuff in here, and I won't get into it because we're out of time. But yeah, if you do want to, again, shameless plug for Alien Archive. Go on.
I'm definitely waiting for the National Geographic episode about it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. They need to do a series like that, like in the vein of National Geographic.
That would be funny.
And pick
That would be
different species.
perfect for Disney Plus or perfect for
Dude,
like or
get on that.
YouTube Kids.
Yep, get on it. please.
Or Star Wars kids. Okay. Will we ever see the Yuuzhan Vong?
Not in. So we will never see them in. I don't think we'll ever see them in the way they were presented in Legends. But the Grisk are out there, and the Grisk I think are the canon equivalent to the Yuuzhan Vong. We just don't know a whole lot about them right now. But that's my answer.
I hope so. I hope we get the Yuuzhan Vong specifically
As they were
at some point. Yes.
Okay. No,
Because
I'd be down with it. I just don't think it's going to happen. But I think you and I are both fans of the Yuuzhan Vong. I thought they were interesting.
Yeah, I have a hard time seeing them coming into play. But again, I think the one thing that we had both talked about, the Yuuzhan Vong were actually the closest thing to an actual threat that the Star Wars galaxy as we know it, the primary part of it, so this is outside the Chiss ascendancy and all of that, like the single biggest threat I think we've ever had, even to date, in Star Wars. And so I think that to the Jedi specifically, I think.
Yeah, to the Jedi specifically, yeah.
But I mean, they gave they handed the Republic it left and right too. But yeah. Okay, will Snoke be in the Mandalorian?
I think if we follow the Heir to the Empire series, yes.
Yeah,
and I think we even if we don't, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some version of him.
I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some version of him in Bad Batch actually. So I think Snoke will surface at least visually at some point. Maybe in Mandalorian again. I think with Mandalorian, this is what I was trying to answer earlier. I got my questions mixed up. I think Mandalorian is going in on a different path right now. So I'm leaning less towards Mandalorian and thinking more towards some other story. And I don't know where Bad Batch goes longer term, if it goes longer term.
Yep.
But that's kind of that path I'm starting to see a little bit more for things that could tie into Snoke / Thrawn and some of that, because that's where it's flirting a little bit.
No, and I misspoke. I was not sorry. I was just thinking. No, that's not what I want to say. I want to say in Bad Batch we would see him, not in the Mandalorian. So I'm on the same page there. Sorry.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, how about Admiral Ray Sloan?
You know,
that's a tough.
I got a story to tell about Admiral Ray Sloan, and now we have she's one of those characters that's so freaking cool. And you think about. I mean, I think it's an injustice that we've not had her in anything outside of the books. But I think there's hope given the amount of stuff they're pulling out of Legends stuff now. So I don't know. I don't put a lot of faith into seeing her, but I would really like to.
Same here. I don't know where she fits in quite yet. There's a few places that she could, but I'd really like to see her.
Yep.
Are you satisfied with the written and video game depiction of the Battle of Jakku, or should there be a movie?
This is a good one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this one because as much as I loved reading about the Battle of Jakku, and as much as I enjoyed playing the Battle of Jakku in Battlefront 2, and as much as we know, I mean, it's referenced enough that we know it's very significant, and I don't think a lot of people realize just how significant it was. Again, a shame that we haven't. But should it be a movie? I don't know. I don't know if they're in the business of going back and telling those types of stories all over again. I say that, and yeah, we got Rogue One, so who knows? Maybe 20 years from now, someone goes, you know what? We probably should tell that story because there's a story there. So, but I don't think it's anytime soon.
I think there's ways they could do it visually. I think maybe not movie, but I think there's ways they could do it visually that I think would be interesting. And could they do a limited run series that included that culminated in that? I think that would be a potential opportunity there too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's worthy of getting some airtime. Absolutely. Okay, finally, why is Bo-Katan still hot looking when her contemporary Obi-Wan Kenobi is old and dead?
The Tatooine sun. That's all it can be.
Well,
We've seen what it did to the Lars family. So,
well, I thought I think this is why they're going back to Mandalore. I think there's some sort of ancient Mandalorian skincare cream,
Fountain of Youth.
Yeah, exactly. And this is what all the Mandalorians do to remain attractive and healthy looking for so long, when their counterparts continue to degrade and age at an unhealthy pace.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and so this is why Din Djarin thinks that he can get Bo-Katan. He's like, you know what I found? I found some of that cream you guys were talking about.
Cream. That's a good question though. I mean, it's kind of unfair, but maybe it's just genetics, right? Some people age faster than others.
True.
I'm 29. You wouldn't know it. So I look like
there you go. Lauren comes in strong at the end. Obi-Wan was under a lot of stress. He did
That's
get
true.
dragged through a fire. So,
Oh,
that.
come on. We've all been there. Recovered just fine.
Yeah, Anakin's like, here, hold my beer.
Yeah. Yeah. You and your little fire.
All right. Well, this was fun. Thank you to everyone for all of your questions. And again, for the serious and fun ones alike. We love it all. And we certainly appreciate y'all taking the time to shoot those over to us so that we can have a fun show and hear from all of y'all. So these are always one of our favorite shows to do.
Yeah. And hopefully we did justice to your questions, gave you answers that were legit or at least close enough to legit. As a reminder, we do this pretty regularly. And if you guys ever want to go on, and you don't have to wait for us to do it. If you want to just queue up a question, like Jonesy said at the beginning, just go to cantinacast.com/question. You can submit your question there. It gets logged and saved. And when it comes back around to do this, we'll pull it from there. We'll very likely, we tend to do these types of shows around the series as well. So who knows? We probably will have an Andor Q&A at some point, maybe afterwards. So expect that, another one, not too much longer.
Yep. How about we do a few shout outs here before we call it a night?
Do it.
All right. So Jonathan, Steph, Lauren, Rob, even Mike Rondo showed up. Thanks, Mike, for showing up for 5 seconds. Ash, Music Train, good to see you again. George, everyone out there dealing with Hurricane Fiona, please take care and be safe. David Guy Sr. and Eugene Burr, of course.
Yep. Did you get Rob?
Yeah, I got Rob early on.
Oh,
Yep.
okay. All right. Good.
So yeah, thank you everyone for showing up. And again, cantinacast.com/YouTube if you are curious to subscribe to the channel and get notified when we're going to go live.
All right. Well, that's going to do it here. We will be back in just a few days and start our crazy Andor coverage. So buckle up, get ready, because there's a lot of Andor coming up and a lot of stuff to discuss. And I've been poking around on some of the spoilers, I have to say, because, I do that. And I think there's going to be some good discussions. We're going to get into some really heavy weighted discussions around this series without spoiling anything. So,
all right.
Yeah. Any final words before we get out of here?
That's it. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. We'll see you guys soon.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property, and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.